So this video is a short little thing about HooDoo because a lot of times when I tell somebody that when they ask me what I am, usually I'll say, oh, I'm pagan or something, just because it's easier. But really, I consider myself an animist. I do study a lot of Norse and Germanic folklore and myths and everything, but I don't consider myself any follower of anything. But as I learn more about it, I get more interested. So who knows, in a year from now or something, I'll be saying I'm a follower of something, a Satru, or that I'm a heathen or whatever, depending on your definition of heathen. I usually use it just as a funny term, like calling all pagans heathens, or like, you little heathens, when I'm talking about a friend's kids. But I also, when I'm really being serious, I'll have to say that heathen is, even though this is my definition, so yes, I can be wrong, that it's people who follow Norse or Germanic path, Odinist, Asatru, all those different sort of related things. But when I say I'm an animist, and I'll say that I'm interested in Norse mythology and everything, but then I say that I practice HooDoo. And even though I've only been practicing it for a while, or incorporating different HooDoo things into my workings, it's not really fair for me to say that, hey, I practice HooDoo when I've only been doing it for a little bit. I feel like I don't know everything. Obviously, I'm still just learning basic recipes for some stuff, and I know there's a lot of things that I can't learn. I was thinking of taking a course online, perhaps, from a really renowned HooDoo woman, but I don't have the time or the money, so I'm just doing research on my own and learning as I go along. But HooDoo, basically, it's African American folk magic. It has European influence on it, and also there's Native American influence as well. I know that in certain parts of America, like in Georgia, I believe it is, there's more Native American influence on the HooDoo practices, or more on the African American, and then a little bit of European practices. And so depending on where you go, where you're at, or where you're from, you'll have a different blend of them. This is what I've read, at least. And then, just like if you go to New Orleans or Van Vanuatu, is gonna be different from where you go somewhere else, like in the Appalachians or something, if they practice HooDoo, depending on what part you're going to. Because a lot of people in the Appalachians, I'm going off topic, are German ancestry and or Celtic ancestry. So I don't really know how HooDoo, if HooDoo is really taking a root there. Huh? Get it? Root workers? You know what I'm talking about? Anyway, um, but yeah, what I do basically when I'm learning about HooDoo is I bought Cat Ironwood's book. I've already shared this before, HooDoo Urban Root Magic. I do a lot of research online. I talk to practitioners online, to different forums and everything. I also got this, I think this book, I shared this before as well, which is incensive. It smells like old book. I love that. But yeah, so everything that you find and that you can make all can come from different sources. But the basic thing is that it's beliefs and practices, just like when you read about Santeria Voodoo or Vodun, whatever you want to say it. Africans that are brought over to this country, and then they've had to, the religion that evolved through slavery or the different places that they were with, and then incorporating it with native beliefs, and then also sometimes beliefs that they've learned from their slaveholders, or I'm not really also sure how else different botanicals, European influence got into it. Perhaps because Europeans brought over different things here to this country, and then Africans associated it with um, herbs and roots and what they have and whatnot from their own countries. So root that they have that similar here, sometimes they would have consider them same and have the same properties in a way. And a lot of people will think that hoodoo and voodoo are the same thing. So I'll say, hey, I practice voodoo, or voodoo. I practice hoodoo. I'm like, oh, voodoo? You kill chickens and do this and blah, blah. Or sometimes I even get the reaction, but you're not black. And I'm like, seriously? Okay, time to educate. And I don't, there's so much involved with the history of hoodoo that I can't really go into detail, because I'll be here for video after video after video, or if I'm talking to somebody, I'll be there all day. Plus, I obviously I don't remember all the information because it's not my the history of hoodoo isn't really my study. I mean, I know a bit about it, but it's not something that I'm not like a have my master's in hoodoo or something. I can recite a book. Um, but there is a difference between hoodoo and voodoo. Voodoo is a religious path, and hoodoo is just like a folk. It's folk magic. It's folk beliefs and everything. Whereas voodoo, you actually requires more of that, more from you, and you can learn about voodoo on your own because I'm not going to be discussing it here. Um, but along with hoodoo, a lot of times when you study different things, like a hoodoo spell, if you want to say, requires that you use some sort of herb that, and then you have to recite a psalms over it. So there is Christian influences in hoodoo. I wouldn't really consider it a pagan practice. It's like makes me think of the Pennsylvania Dutch or Deech and how they will incorporate the Bible into their folklore practices. So a lot of your pagan, you look at it like, hey, they're witches, they practice witchcraft and blah blah blah. But if you're a Christian, they might see, oh, they're practicing, or well, I guess depending on your view, they'll either say, oh, they're conjuring with the devil, or they'll say, oh, they're using psalms and different tracks from the Bible to use as healing and for this and that. So they are Christians. They're healing like possibly like Jesus did. And I think there's some Jewish influences on hoodoo too. I'm not sure how it influences it, but I know that I've read that there is influence. But obviously Christianity is just a reformation of Judaism in many ways, so it's not really hard to pull some Jewish aspects out of hoodoo. Um, but yeah, a lot of it is just like you don't. I like it because I'm not into casting a ritual or casting a circle and doing all this stuff for ritual. It's just not my gig. When I work, I am my circle. I am my sacred space. The energy that I emanate is my working space, and I usually do stuff at home or in close to home. I have to go outside. Sorry. And so I know this area, and so it doesn't require anything. They require like some things like go to a crossroads and collect dirt from sada sada, or then give this sort of offering to get graveyard dirt at a certain grave and find it this way. There are different practices like that, but it doesn't say cast a circle, call upon the gods and goddesses of this and that, and the towers and blah blah, blah whatever you practice. I didn't mean blah blah blah, as in it does. It's not has no validity, and it's not a good practice. I'm just saying, so don't get angry. Because I do go to pagan rituals here, and I have no issue with any of it. I still go along with it, and I still practice it, and I'm still in part of a lot of the rituals. In fact, I'm going to be the maiden uh, in the ritual this Saturday for Imbolc. Um, but yeah, a lot of the stuff in hoodoo, I find that it has like medicinal stuff as well. Like, I guess you could call a root worker. They know different ways to, like, if you like the potato thing with the wart, like rub a cut potato on a wart and supposedly it'll go away. Like things like that. They know like little root workers and hoodoo practitioners know little tricks like that for healing, and they're really interesting. I've always been interested in folk magic and folk healing. So you find that in hoodoo a lot too, which is cool. Um, but there's so that's kind of why I'm into it. A little brief outline. I know I'm not really giving the best introduction. I'm just kind of saying why I like it, but there's not really something you can really say it is. Basically, it's just African American folk magic with influences from other places, and it changes where you go, so you can't really define it. I mean, I'm sure if you talk to a root worker who's practicing forever, he or she will have an opinion on it. But personally, I see it as just where you go, it's different, and so you can put your own spin on it in a way. But some things are set in stone, if that makes sense. Not like, hey, this feels right, I'm gonna do this, and hey, this feels right, I'm gonna do that. There are certain formulas that you have to stick to, and there are certain things and certain procedures that you have to stick to as well for some things if you want them to work, or tried and true methods at least they're suggesting. So yeah, that's a really basic video on what hoodoo is, just so people will quit asking me. And I will post a link to Lucky Mojo. That's the place to go for information. It'll tell you what hoodoo is, what hoodoo is not, what Santeria and voodoo are, so you know what they are, so you don't get them mixed up anymore. And it'll also tell you different ways and different things to do on for all the different hoodoo practices. And you can't really It's all free information too. She's copyrighted it though, so the cat Ironwood. So don't steal from her. Use it in your own personal practices, but don't go publishing her stuff. Okay, you've been warned. Okay, thank you.